Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. It's another faction focus. We're doing this daily as you well know, and this time we're on the turn of the Greenskins, the Orcs. They've had their article released on the Warhammer community webpage. Now before getting into today's video, I just want to shout out all the members on the YouTube area, as well as the Discord, all the support that's coming in from you guys, all the donations. Just want to give you a bit of a thank you and shout you guys out. But let's get into the Orcs and their army rule, which is WAR. Now this has been nerfed since, well, from the 9th edition to 10th edition it has seen a nerf, but you've got to look at it, you can't kind of compare the two editions anymore, you've got to compare them to other faction abilities from 10th edition, and I still think it's a pretty good one, but let's get into it. So, if your army faction is Orcs, once per battle, at the start of the battle round, you can call a war, and if you do so until the next battle round, we'll start the next battle round, they're eligible to declare a charge. Even though they've advanced, they get a +1 to the strength and a +1 to the attacks for all Orc weapons in melee, as well as a 5+ invulnerable save, all for a whole battle round. Now previously it used to work over a couple of battle rounds, and there was also other options such as the speed war, so you can class those as nerfs, but there's also positives for the Orc player here. First of all, it happens at the start of the battle round, not the command phase, so if they do go second, it's still going to be active. Second of all, in 9th edition they required a war boss, or one of the other war bosses that relate to the speed war bosses, and if he wasn't on the battlefield then they simply couldn't do it. So already there's a couple of bonuses in that respect, as well as nerfs. But it is just a generic war, there is no like gimmicks here, there's no bells and whistles, but I still think it's a really good ability. Being able to advance and charge, extra attacks, extra strength and a 5+ invulnerable save, that makes them very nasty in melee. Of course they are a melee based faction, a horde faction, that's the way they used to play. Now in later editions they've started using other ways of playing, shooting attacks, fast attacks, or the transports that they were using in 9th edition. There's lots of different ways, but it seems like they're going back to the old school way of melee horde. So in order to negate their rule, if you like, you need to stay as far as you possibly can from the Orc players' units. Now against some factions you want to screen out. You want to screen out with say Canoptic Scarabs for example, or whatever other cheap unit you've got, and you want them out a certain distance so that you're going to be protected in your back lines. But this is not the case with the Orc players, because they're going to use you as a slingshot. So they're going to go straight into say your Canoptic Scarabs by advancing and charging, turn 1, turn 2, very early in the game, and they're going to absolutely decimate whatever unit is put in front of them. You've then given them a consolidation move on top of that. So in fact, let's go back a step. You've given them the charge move. So if your Scarabs were not there, they wouldn't have the charge move to begin with. They've got to wait another turn. So you've already given them between 2 inches and 12 inches for a charge move. Then you've got the piling move, then you've got the consolidation move. So you're literally slingshotting the army of the Orcs into our back lines. So having a high line is not recommended against Orcs, whatever edition you're playing. You want a line that's very compact, very close to home. Make them waste as many turns as possible by foot slogging across the battlefield. If they've got transports, which we've not seen any data sheets for the transports, you need to pop them as early as possible, get them out of them, make them foot slog so that you can actually shoot them from range. In a melee fight, we're not going to win that one. Now as for the detachment rule, they've got the War Tribe, it's called Get Stuck In. And virtually all melee weapons equipped by the Orcs have got the Sustain Hits 1 ability. So any 6s to hit explode into more 6s, or explode into more hits rather. So yeah, it kind of just goes hand in hand with their army rule really. They're very good in melee. One trick pony perhaps, but they're very good at it. So you want to avoid it at all costs. So it's kind of the same weaknesses as we spoke about in the army rule. Don't give them a slingshot, don't give them a high line in terms of your screen. Keep everything compact and as far back as possible. So in terms of the army rule and detachment rule, there's not really much else to say, so I'm going to go into some of the other things that are related to this article. Beast Snagger boys, they've got a feel no pain save of a 6+, not too bad at all. They're good against monsters, but mainly I want to talk about Grazgul, because he's dramatically changed for this edition in fact, because he used to be a monster, he's now an infantry, and I've seen on some of the Facebook pages that a lot of Orc players don't like that. But I think that's a really good change because, well, first of all, monsters in this edition can be shot in combat. He's an infantry, so if he's in combat, he can't be shot at anymore. Second of all, he's got the leader ability now, so he can go into a unit. We don't know what unit he can go into, but he can have a bodyguard unit, an attached unit. That's going to effectively give him more wounds to his profile because you've got to get through all those models, unless you've got the precision ability. Again, death marks. I think death marks are going to be huge this edition, you know. It seems like every video I'm mentioning them, they seem to be something of a go-to right now in terms of these previews. He's also going to be giving buffs to the unit that he's in, and that will include himself, +1 to the hit roll, +1 to the wound roll. And again, the wound roll is a massive thing in this edition because the toughnesses are so high. A +1 to wound is going to be a massive swing with a +1 to wound, whereas in 9th edition it was less of a swing. He's also got a little bit of an extra, well, it's a model in fact, the Makari, who's got a 2+ invulnerable save. I think that's what it used to be, I can't remember off the top of my head now. 2+ invulnerable save that cannot be re-rolled. And if that guy is alive, then when using the WAR ability, units within 12 inches of him also gain the lethal hits ability. So they've got the sustained hits ability from the detachment roll, 6s to explode, and also lethal hits. So 6s will automatically wound as well. So yeah, they're just getting really nasty in melee, aren't they? Thankfully though, Grasgar has not got the wound cap anymore. I mean, I say thankfully, that kind of isn't a good thing for our Catan shards. It means they are very unlikely to get the wounds cap. I didn't think they were going to get it anyway, but as Grasgar's not got it, I doubt that our Catans are going to get it as well. He doesn't degrade, that's a good thing for them I suppose. And we've already mentioned he's an infantry character now, so he can go into units. As for the actual faction overall, they've not got Here We Go anymore. They've not got the reroll to their charge roll, although it is actually a stratagem, I believe it is, yeah. But it's not quite the same. It's +2 to the advance and charge rolls. And remember, if you're doing the WAR, you get to advance and charge, so it's effectively a +4 when they're combining them. They've also lost the mob roll, which is good because of battle shock. And in fact, let me check out the leadership of these units. Leadership 7 on the Beast Snagger boys. Leadership 7+ seems to be the norm. Necron warriors have got it, Beast Snagger boys have got it, loads of other units have got 7+, so that seems to be the norm now, which is pretty much half a chance of actually failing. Before we go, in fact, I just want to have a little look at their weapon spotlight. I bet you they've got weapons that are really good. Let's have a check. The Death Cannon, strength 14, d6 damage, attacks 3d6. Yeah. And the Mega Chopper, strength 24, damage 10. When are we going to get this stuff? Our article that Necron's got just didn't have this kind of stuff. We got a damage 4 Doomsday Cannon. So yeah, as these videos go on and on, I'm really fearing for Necrons in 10th, you know. I'm really fearing. I just don't think we're gonna. I just don't see what we can do to compete. I mean, what are we waiting on? When we see our index, what are we actually going, you know what, that will save us? Is it points costs? Is it the Catan shards? Is it the Silent King? Maybe it's quantum shielding? There's something that's got to level us up, and at the moment I don't know what it is. So guys, that is it from me today. Again, a massive thank you to all the guys that are donating to the channel, the paid members, as well as the guys in the Discord that are also paid. Other than that, all that is left to say is thank you for watching. See you in the next one.